The morning started like any other day on the U.S. Nemesis. Commander Robert Wilson stood at the bridge's main viewport, watching Mars grow smaller in the distance. The red planet's surface glinted under the distant sunlight as Earth's first deep space warship continued its maiden voyage through the solar system. "Commander, we're picking up something strange," said Officer Kevin White, his eyes fixed on the radar screen. "Multiple objects approaching from the asteroid belt. They're moving too fast to be natural." Wilson walked over to the monitoring station, his boots making soft sounds against the metal floor. The objects on the screen moved in perfect formation, something they had never seen before. His heart began to beat faster, but his voice remained calm. "Sound general quarters. All hands to battle stations," he ordered. Red lights began flashing throughout the ship as the alarm sounded. Within minutes, the bridge crew watched as 7 sleek, silver vessels emerged from behind a large asteroid. Their designs were unlike anything humans had ever built, smooth, almost organic-looking ships that seemed to flow through space rather than push through it. Chief Engineer Lisa Martinez rushed onto the bridge, her dark hair pulled back in a tight bun. "Commander, those ships are giving off energy readings that are off the charts. Our sensors can barely process the data." The main screen crackled to life, showing a tall, gray-skinned figure with multiple eyes and what appeared to be scales covering its face. The alien wore an ornate uniform covered in strange symbols. "Primitive humans," the creature spoke in perfect English, its voice deep and filled with contempt. "I am High Commander Zexthor of the Drachnid Empire. We have watched your species fumble its way into space, and we have decided you are not worthy of joining the galactic community." Wilson straightened his back, meeting the alien's gaze. "This is Commander Robert Wilson of the Earth ship Nemesis. We are on a peaceful exploration mission, but we are prepared to defend ourselves if necessary." A harsh laugh came from the alien commander. "Defend yourselves? With that primitive vessel? Our ships have conquered 1,000 worlds. Your weapons are nothing compared to our energy beams and shield technology." As if to demonstrate, one of the Drachnid ships fired a warning shot, a bright beam of purple energy that passed close to the Nemesis's bow. The bridge crew remained steady, though several hands tightened on their console edges. "You have 1 Earth hour to transmit your surrender," Zexthor declared. "After that, we will begin the cleansing of your system, starting with this ship. Your species will serve as a lesson to others who think they can reach for the stars before they are ready." The transmission cut off, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Wilson turned to Martinez. "Lisa, what's the status of our quantum systems?" A small smile crossed the engineer's face. "Fully operational, sir. They have no idea what we're capable of. Their scans can't even detect our quantum computer core. Their technology isn't advanced enough to recognize it." "Good." Wilson sat in his command chair and opened a channel to Earth. "Admiral Cooper, this is the Nemesis. We have made first contact with a hostile alien force. They're giving us 1 hour to surrender." The Admiral's voice came back clear and strong. "Understood, Commander. The lunar defense grid is coming online, and we're mobilizing the rest of the fleet. Hold your position and protect our solar system. Show them what humanity can do." Wilson looked around at his crew, men and women who had trained for years for this moment, though none had expected it to come so soon. "Send word to all decks. This is not a drill. Today, we show the galaxy that humanity won't bow to threats." As the crew prepared for battle, Officer White spoke up again. "Sir, they're moving their ships into attack formation. They're not waiting for the hour to be up." "Typical," Wilson said, shaking his head. "They expect us to panic. Target their lead ship with the quantum-guided missiles. Let's show them exactly how primitive we are." The Nemesis's weapons systems came online, guided by computing technology that would revolutionize warfare. As the alien ships approached, humanity prepared for its first interstellar battle. The fate of Earth would depend on this ship, its crew, and the secret advantages that the overconfident Drachnid Empire was about to discover the hard way. Lisa Martinez ran her hands over the smooth surface of the quantum core, its blue light casting a soft glow in the engine room of the U.S. Nemesis. Warning lights still flashed throughout the ship, but down here she felt a strange calm. She knew something the aliens didn't. This computer was about to change everything. "All readings are green," said her assistant, Brian Foster, checking the displays. "The quantum core is running at full power. Those aliens won't know what hit them." Lisa nodded, remembering the years of secret work that led to this moment. While other nations had focused on building bigger ships and stronger weapons, the United States had poured resources into quantum computing. The result was a targeting system so advanced it could predict enemy movements before they happened. "Bridge to engineering." Commander Wilson's voice came through the speakers. "Status report." "Everything's ready, Commander," Lisa replied. "The core is stable, and our targeting systems are at full capacity. Their shields won't help them if they can't move fast enough to dodge our missiles." Up on the bridge, Wilson received the news with a tight smile. The alien ships had spread out in a half-circle formation, trying to trap the Nemesis between them and Mars. They clearly expected an easy victory. "Sir," Officer White called out, "we're getting another transmission from their flagship." The scaled face of High Commander Zex Thor appeared on screen again. "Your time grows short, humans. Already you shake in fear. Submit now, and we may spare some of your young ones to serve as laborers." Wilson stood from his chair, his voice firm. "We've studied our history, Commander Zex Thor. Every time someone showed up on Earth thinking they were superior, they learned a hard lesson. Today won't be any different." The alien commander's multiple eyes blinked in surprise at the human's confidence. "You dare to threaten the Drachnid Empire? Our ships have technology you cannot begin to understand." "Maybe," Wilson replied. "But understanding something and beating it are two different things." As if on cue, one of the Drachnid ships fired another warning shot. This time, the beam passed even closer to the Nemesis, heating up the outer hull plating. "That was your final warning," Zex Thor growled. "Prepare to." Wilson cut the transmission. "Lieutenant Adam Pierce, target their weapons arrays with our first volley. Let's show them what Earth brings to the fight." Down in the missile control room, Lieutenant Pierce and his team watched as their targeting displays came alive with data from the quantum core. The system wasn't just tracking the alien ships, it was calculating their likely evasive maneuvers based on their engine outputs and energy signatures. "Missiles armed," Pierce reported. "Quantum targeting solutions locked." Wilson took a deep breath. This would be humanity's first shot in an interstellar war. "Fire." The Nemesis shuddered slightly as 4 missiles launched from its tubes. The Drachnid ships, expecting simple projectiles, began their evasive maneuvers. But these weren't ordinary missiles. Guided by quantum calculations, the missiles adjusted their course in ways that seemed to defy physics. When the alien ships dodged left, the missiles were already curving to meet them. When they dodged right, another missile was waiting. "Impossible." Zex Thor's voice boomed across all frequencies as 2 of his ships took direct hits. Their shields flared bright purple before failing completely. In engineering, Lisa allowed herself a small cheer as the quantum core processed the battle data. "Their shield frequency is adapting," she reported to the bridge. "But our system is adapting faster. Each shot we take teaches us more about their technology." Wilson watched as the Drachnid ships scrambled to regroup. Their perfect formation had broken down into chaos. These aliens had never faced an enemy who could predict their moves before they made them. "Sir," Officer White reported with excitement in his voice, "the Lunar Defense Fleet is on its way. Captain Emily Hughes reports they'll be here in 20 minutes. "Good," Wilson replied, "because I have a feeling these aliens are about to show us what they can really do. And this time, they won't be holding back." The damaged Drachnid ships retreated behind their companions as the remaining vessels charged their main weapons. The real battle was about to begin, But now the aliens knew they weren't facing primitive humans. They were facing an enemy who had turned mathematics itself into a weapon. Admiral David Cooper stood in the Lunar Command Center, watching dozens of screens showing the unfolding battle near Mars. His gray hair reflected the blue light from the displays as he studied the movements of both human and alien ships. "Get me Captain Hughes," he ordered. The main screen switched to show the determined face of Emily Hughes on the bridge of her ship, the U.S. Defender. "Admiral," she said, "my fleet is almost in position. 6 ships ready to support the Nemesis." "Good. The aliens think they have Wilson cornered. They don't know you're coming up behind them." Cooper turned to his tactical officer. "What's the status of Earth's defense grid?" "All satellites are armed and ready, sir. If any alien ships get past our fleet, they'll have a nasty surprise waiting." Near Mars, the battle had exploded into full chaos. The Drachnid ships had stopped playing games. Green and purple energy beams cut through space, trying to hit the Nemesis. But the Earth ship moved with unexpected grace, its quantum systems predicting each attack. "Hard to port," Commander Wilson ordered as another beam passed by. "Status of our missile tubes." "Reloaded and ready," Lieutenant Pierce reported. "But sir, they're learning. Their ships are moving more randomly now, trying to confuse our targeting." In engineering, Lisa Martinez saw the problem on her screens. The quantum core was processing more and more data as the aliens changed their tactics. "Bridge, this is engineering. We need 2 minutes to update our targeting algorithms. Their new movement patterns are complex." Wilson gripped his chair as the ship shook from a near miss. "We may not have 2 minutes." That's when the aliens made their big move. The 5 remaining Drachnid ships split into 2 groups. 3 ships drove straight for the Nemesis, while 2 broke away, heading for Earth. "They're making a run for the planet," Officer White shouted. Wilson had to make a quick choice: chase the ships heading to Earth, or deal with the 3 bearing down on them. Before he could decide, a new voice came over the radio. "Nemesis, this is Captain Hughes. We've got the runners. You focus on your dance partners." The U.S. Defender and 5 other Earth ships appeared from behind a cluster of asteroids. They had used the rocks to hide their approach, and now they caught the 2 Drachnid ships in a crossfire. "Now that's a beautiful sight," Wilson said with a smile. "Lisa, how's that targeting update coming?" "Ready now, Commander. And I found something interesting. Their ship's shield generators have to power down for a split second before they fire their main weapons. It's a tiny window, but our quantum targeting can hit it," Wilson finished. "Pierce, you hearing this?" "Yes, sir. Adjusting targeting parameters now." The 3 Drachnid ships attacking the Nemesis fired together, expecting to overwhelm its defenses. Instead, the Earth ship fired first. 3 missiles shot out, each timed perfectly to hit the aliens exactly as their shields flickered. The explosions lit up space like new stars. 2 Drachnid ships lost power immediately. The 3rd spun away, trailing debris. Near Earth, Captain Hughes and her fleet had trapped the other 2 alien ships in a perfect holding pattern. Every time they tried to break for Earth, they faced a wall of missile fire. "Attention Drachnid vessels." Admiral Cooper broadcast on all frequencies. "Your attack has failed. Your ships are damaged or trapped. Surrender now." High Commander Zex Thor's voice came back, but this time it had lost its confidence. "This is impossible. You are lying about your technology. You must have had help from our enemies." "No help," Cooper replied. "Just human ingenuity. And if you don't stand down, you'll see a lot more of it." In the silence that followed, Wilson watched the disabled alien ships drift. The mighty Drachnid Empire had just learned that looking down on humans was a dangerous mistake, but he knew this wasn't over. Somewhere out there, a whole empire was about to learn about their failed invasion. "Sir," Officer White said quietly, "long-range sensors are picking up more ships. Lots of them." Wilson nodded. They had won the first battle, but the war was just beginning. He opened a channel to all Earth ships. All vessels, form up on the Nemesis. We've shown them what one Earth ship can do. Now let's show them what we can do together. Dr. John Parker watched his computer screen with growing excitement as data from the battle poured into his lab at Lunar Base. As the creator of the quantum-guided missile systems, he saw something in the numbers that made him grab his phone immediately. Commander Wilson, this is Dr. Parker. I've found their weakness. The Drachnid ships always follow their leader's orders, even when those orders are wrong. They don't think for themselves at all. On the bridge of the Nemesis, Wilson looked at the approaching Drachnid reinforcements. 20 new ships had just appeared at the edge of the solar system, all bigger than the first wave. Can we use this, Doctor? Wilson asked, his eyes fixed on the threat ahead. Yes. Their whole fleet links to their command ship's computer. If we can confuse their leader systems, we can confuse them all. Lisa Martinez had been listening in. Commander, we can reprogram our missiles to target their communication systems. The quantum core can handle it. Wilson didn't waste time. Do it. And get me Admiral Cooper. The Admiral's face appeared on screen. I see them, Wilson. That's a lot of ships. Sir, we have a plan, but we need all our ships to work together. Cooper nodded. Captain Hughes, are you hearing this? Yes, sir, Emily's voice came through. My fleet is ready. The new Drachnid ships moved forward in perfect rows, like a giant space arrow aimed at Earth. Their new leader, Supreme Commander Kraz, spoke to all Earth ships. Your tricks will not work again, Kraz said. Surrender now, or we will destroy your entire system. Wilson smiled. Dr. Parker, ready to show them our latest trick. Missiles reprogrammed, Parker replied. Each one now carries a virus designed to attack their communication systems. Once it gets into one ship, it will spread to them all. The Nemesis moved forward alone. The Drachnid ships prepared to fire, but Wilson spoke first. Supreme Commander, we accept your challenge. Let's see who really has the better technology. The Nemesis fired 6 missiles at once. The Drachnid ships raised their shields, ready to block them like normal weapons. But these missiles didn't aim for the ships themselves. Instead, they exploded near the command ship, releasing clouds of tiny robots. What is this? Kraz demanded as his ship's computers began to show strange readings. The tiny robots, guided by the quantum core, found gaps in the alien shields. They attached to the ship's communication arrays and began sending confusing signals. Status report. Kraz ordered his fleet, but each ship now received different orders. Some thought they should attack. Others thought they should retreat. Some simply spun in circles. Now, Wilson commanded. The Earth fleet struck from all sides. The Nemesis, Defender, and every other human ship fired at once. The Drachnid ships, unable to work together, couldn't defend themselves properly. This is impossible, Kraz shouted as his command ship's systems failed. How can primitives defeat our perfect system? Because we're not primitives, Wilson replied. We're humans, and we learn from every fight. The battle turned into chaos, but only for the aliens. Earth's ships worked together perfectly, protecting each other and striking at weak points. 5 Drachnid ships exploded. 6 more lost power. The rest tried to retreat, but their engines wouldn't respond to their confused commands. In his lab, Dr. Parker watched with pride. The virus is working better than we hoped. Their whole fleet is shutting down. Commander, Lisa called from engineering. Their main computer core is trying to restart. Should we let them? Wilson thought for a moment. Yes, let them see what happens when they underestimate Earth. The alien ship's systems came back online, but now they all displayed the same message. Controlled by Earth Defense Forces, the mighty Drachnid fleet had become humanity's first space trophy. Supreme Commander Kraz's voice shook as he spoke. We surrender. Please, show mercy. Admiral Cooper took over. We will show mercy, something you didn't offer us. But you will take a message back to your empire. Earth is not primitive. Earth is not weak. And Earth is now ready to take its place among the stars. The remaining Drachnid ships powered down their weapons. As Wilson looked out at the disabled alien fleet, he knew everything had changed. Humanity hadn't just won a battle. They had shown the galaxy that Earth was a force to be respected. Lieutenant Susan Baker stood in the Nemesis's shuttle bay, checking her team's gear one last time. 6 Marines in sleek spacesuits waited for her orders. After the Drachnid fleet's surrender, they had discovered something odd about the alien ship's life support systems. "Remember," she told her team, "we go in fast and quiet. The aliens don't know that we found their weakness yet." Commander Wilson's voice came through her helmet radio. "Lieutenant, are you sure about this? Boarding their flagship is risky." "Sir, the scans don't lie. Every time we hit their ships, their crews panicked about hull breaches. They're more afraid of our air than our weapons." In the ship's science lab, Dr. Sarah Wells had made the strange discovery. The Drachnids weren't just wearing spacesuits, they were wearing full biological protection. Something about Earth's common bacteria terrified them. "Launch window in 2 minutes," Officer White announced from the bridge. "Their shields are still down." Susan turned to her team. "Final check. Everyone's suit seals good." "Yes, Mom," they replied together. The shuttle launched smoothly from the Nemesis. Susan piloted it toward the Drachnid flagship where Supreme Commander Kraz waited, still thinking he was in control of surrender talks. "Their docking bay is open," reported Marine Jack Collins. "They think we're coming for peaceful talks." Susan smiled inside her helmet. That's exactly what they should think. The shuttle landed gently in the alien ship's bay. Through the windows, they could see Drachnid soldiers in their protective suits, waiting to greet what they thought was a diplomatic team. "Now," Susan ordered as the shuttle door opened. Her team moved with perfect speed. Each Marine carried a special package, small canisters designed by Dr. Wells. Before the aliens could react, the humans threw the canisters, which burst into clouds of harmless Earth air. The effect was immediate. The Drachnid soldiers panicked, running from the invisible threat. Their protective suits could stop bullets, but not the microscopic life that filled Earth's atmosphere. "Control room is this way," Susan said, leading her team through the alien corridors. Any Drachnids they met quickly retreated, more scared of what might be in the air than of fighting. On the Nemesis's bridge, Wilson watched through the team's helmet cameras. "I can't believe this is working. An entire warship, scared of the common cold." Lisa's voice came from engineering. "Their whole species probably never developed immunity to Earth bacteria. To them, our air is like poison." Susan's team reached the ship's control room. Inside, Supreme Commander Kraz and his officers tried to look brave, but their fearful glances at the humans' sealed suits gave them away. "What is this treachery?" Kraz demanded. "Not treachery," Susan replied. "Just using our natural advantages. Now, please step away from the controls. You think your primitive bacteria scare us." But even as he spoke, Kraz moved away from the humans. Susan nodded to Collins, who released another canister. The alien officers pressed themselves against the walls, trying to avoid the invisible cloud. "The mighty Drachnid Empire," Susan said, "defeated by the same tiny life forms that live on every human world." Ironic, isn't it? Within minutes, her team had control of the flagship. Similar teams from other Earth ships were boarding the rest of the surviving Drachnid fleet. The aliens' greatest weakness wasn't their technology or their tactics. It was their fear of the microscopic life that humans had evolved alongside for millions of years. Back on the Nemesis, Wilson received Susan's victory signal. "Admiral Cooper, the flagship is ours. All alien crews are contained in their quarters. They won't risk removing their suits." Cooper's reply was satisfied. "Good work, Lieutenant Baker. Dr. Wells, how long until you can start studying their biology?" "We already have samples from their ship's air filters," Sarah replied. "Give me a week, and I'll know everything about why they're so vulnerable to Earth life." Susan walked the captured bridge, looking at the advanced alien technology that now belonged to Earth. Commander Wilson, permission to plant an Earth flag on their command deck. Wilson laughed. Granted, Lieutenant. You've earned it. As Susan placed the American flag on the alien ship's bridge, she realized that humanity hadn't just won because of better weapons or smarter tactics. They had won because the very essence of Earth, its air, its life, its bacteria, had turned out to be the perfect defense against alien invaders. The Drachnid Empire's greatest mistake wasn't underestimating human technology. It was underestimating the power of evolution on a living, breathing world like Earth. News of the Drachnid fleet's defeat spread through space faster than light. On 100 worlds controlled by the Empire, alien species watched video feeds of Earth's victory. They saw mighty Drachnid ships floating helpless in space, their crews hiding from invisible enemies in the air. Commander Wilson stood on the bridge of the Nemesis, watching a new message playing on the main screen. It came from a planet called Sendor, where tall, blue-skinned aliens had lived under Drachnid rule for 300 years. People of Earth, their leader said, "We have seen what you did. For the first time in memory, the Drachnids know fear. We ask for your help to free our world." Similar messages arrived from other planets. The Drachnid Empire was huge, but it was built on fear. Now that fear was turning against them. "Sir," Officer White called out, "long-range sensors show multiple Drachnid fleets moving. They're pulling ships from their conquered worlds." Admiral Cooper's face appeared on the command screen. "They're gathering for a massive attack. Our victory scared them more than we thought." Wilson nodded. "They think they need a bigger fleet to beat us. They still don't understand." In her lab on the lunar base, Dr. Sarah Wells made an announcement that changed everything. "The Drachnids aren't just weak against our bacteria. They're weak against all forms of Earth life. Their bodies never learned to fight infection." "Can we use this?" Cooper asked. "Better than that," Sarah replied. "I found records in their computers. Every world they've conquered is like them. Too clean, too protected. They've spent so long avoiding germs that they've made themselves vulnerable." Wilson turned to Lisa Martinez. "Can we spread this information to their conquered worlds?" Lisa smiled. "Already doing it, sir. Their communication network is still infected with our virus. Every screen in their empire will show our message." The message was simple. The Drachnid Empire had a weakness. On every world they ruled, slaves began to notice how their masters never took off their protective suits, how they feared the smallest scratch or tear, how they panicked at the thought of infection. 3 days later, the Drachnids launched their massive counterattack. 100 ships jumped into the solar system, the largest fleet they had ever gathered. "This is High General Vorks of the Imperial Fleet." A new voice boomed. "Surrender Earth now, or face total destruction." Wilson looked at his crew. Everyone was calm. "Ready. High General, we've been expecting you. But first, you might want to check on your empire." As if on cue, reports flooded in from across Drachnid space. On 20 worlds, slaves had risen up. They didn't need weapons. They just needed to damage the air filters in Drachnid buildings, to create tiny rips in protective suits, to remind their masters how fragile they really were. "Impossible," Vorks shouted as more reports came in. "You primitive." "Stop calling us primitive," Wilson cut him off. "Your empire is falling because you forgot something important. Life isn't about being perfect or pure. It's about adapting, growing stronger. Earth taught us that lesson over millions of years." The Nemesis moved forward, followed by Earth's growing fleet. Every ship now carried special missiles designed by Dr. Wells, weapons that didn't need to destroy, just release clouds of ordinary Earth air. "This is your last chance," Wilson said. "Leave our solar system. Free your slaves. Learn to live with other species instead of conquering them. Or we will end your empire world by world, not with bombs, but with the very life you've spent so long running from." The Drachnid fleet hung in space, frozen by indecision. Their empire was falling apart behind them. Their greatest weapons meant nothing against an enemy who turned nature itself into a defense. Finally, High General Vork spoke again, but his voice had lost its power. We will withdraw. The Empire will consider your terms." As the 100 ships turned and fled, Wilson sent a message to all Earth forces. The age of the Drachnid Empire is over. The age of humanity has begun, and we will do better than they did. We will help other species grow stronger, not keep them weak. Because that's what Earth taught us to do. The crew of the Nemesis cheered. In labs and ships across the solar system, humans celebrated not just their victory, but what it meant. They had proved that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their weapons or technology. It was the lessons learned from their own world. Lessons about surviving, adapting, and growing stronger together. 6 months after the Drachnid fleet's retreat, the U.S. Nemesis approached a beautiful blue-green planet called Xendor. Commander Robert Wilson stood on his bridge, but this time he wasn't preparing for battle. He was leading Earth's first diplomatic mission to the freed worlds. "Quite a change from our last space meeting," Lisa Martinez said, standing beside him. The engineer had traded her work uniform for a formal diplomatic outfit. "Hard to believe it's only been half a year," Wilson replied. Below them, the planet's surface shimmered with 2 suns' light. Officer White, status of the welcome party. Xendorian ships approaching. "Sir, they're sending a greeting message." The main screen lit up, showing the tall, blue-skinned alien leader they had first seen during the rebellion. "Commander Wilson, welcome to free Xendor. Thanks to Earth, our people breathe freely for the first time in centuries." Dr. Sarah Wells, now Earth's chief xenobiologist, had made an amazing discovery during these months. The Xendorians, like many species, had natural resistances to disease. The Drachnids had forced them to live in filtered environments, making them dependent. Now, these species were remembering their strength. The Nemesis landed at a new spaceport built specifically for Earth ships. Thousands of Xendorians gathered to watch. None wore protective suits or breathed filtered air. They had shed the Drachnid's fearful way of life. "Commander," Lieutenant Susan Baker reported, "all security scans are clear. They're really celebrating." Wilson led his team down the Nemesis's ramp. The air was sweet and clean, full of life just like Earth's. Admiral Cooper had chosen this world for Earth's first embassy because the Xendorians shared humanity's love of natural environments. "Welcome, Earth friends." The Xendorian leader, Chief Zara, walked forward. "Today we sign not just a peace treaty, but a promise for the future." Inside a grand hall, representatives from 20 freed worlds had gathered. Each had their own story of breaking free from Drachnid rule. Each had learned the same lesson. That strength came from facing challenges, not hiding from them. "The Drachnid Empire has agreed to all our terms," Wilson announced to the gathered aliens. "They will stay within their original borders. They will free all captured worlds. And most importantly, they will learn to live as equals, not conquerors." Dr. Wells stood up next. "We're already helping many species recover their natural immunities. The Drachnids tried to make the galaxy sterile and controlled. Together, we'll bring back the balance they destroyed." Chief Zara raised a ceremonial cup. "To Earth, you didn't just defeat our oppressors. You showed us how to be strong again." As the celebrations continued, Wilson walked to a window overlooking the Xendorian capital. New buildings rose into the sky, but they weren't sealed and filtered like Drachnid structures. They were open to the air, celebrating life in all its forms. Lisa joined him at the window. "Hard to believe it all started with one battle near Mars." "One battle that changed everything," Wilson agreed. "Not just for Earth, but for all these worlds." Back on the Nemesis, Officer White received an interesting message. "Sir, we're getting reports from the Drachnid border. Their scientists are asking for help." "Help with what?" Wilson asked. "They want to learn how to strengthen their immune systems naturally. Some of their younger leaders think it's time for the Drachnids to stop hiding from life." Wilson smiled. This was the best kind of victory. one where even the defeated learned and grew stronger. Earth hadn't just won a war. They had changed how an entire empire saw the universe. Admiral Cooper's final message summed it up perfectly. Remember this day. Earth didn't take over an empire. We didn't become conquerors. Instead, we taught the galaxy something we learned over millions of years, that true strength comes from adapting to challenges, not running from them. As the twin suns set on Xendor, the U.S. Nemesis glowed in their light. The ship that had started as Earth's first deep space warship had become a symbol of hope. Now it carried scientists and diplomats instead of weapons, helping build a better galaxy for all species. Commander Wilson looked at the stars above, knowing that somewhere out there, more worlds waited to be discovered. But this time, humanity wouldn't meet them as enemies or conquerors. They would meet as equals, ready to share the greatest lesson Earth had taught them. That life itself, in all its messy, wonderful forms, was the greatest strength of all.